This is Giambai's first time eating at a buffet. She feels very happy. Giambai stuffs food into her mouth quickly. She wants to eat enough to make it worth the money. But after eating her fill, her dad, Nick, who she just met today, tells her to pretend she has food poisoning so they don't have to pay. Giambai refuses Nick's request. Nick starts acting like a troublemaker. He says the police will arrest him and send Giambai to an orphanage. Giambai looks at Nick helplessly. She realizes she can only rely on herself. Giambai looks around the room. After choosing her target, she walks straight to a woman's table. Nick watches curiously. He wonders what Giambai is doing. Then he sees Giambai take out a deck of tarot cards. She starts giving the woman a reading. After just a few words, the woman at the table starts crying. Her sad expression makes Nick feel moved. The man at her table generously writes a check for $1 million as payment. Nick is completely shocked. Nick thinks, did my daughter inherit my talent for tricking people? The man's name is Nick, a top scammer in his field. But you can't keep doing bad things forever. He finally gets sent to prison. On the day of his sentencing, a little girl named Giambai suddenly appears. The aunt who raised her has disappeared. She follows the address her aunt left to find her father because he needs to care for his daughter. Nick gets probation. Instead, father and daughter look at each other and sigh at the same time. Nick can't understand why he suddenly has a daughter out of nowhere. Giambai never expected her dad to be so disappointing, but she has no one else to rely on. So she follows Nick everywhere at night. Nick tells his friends he doesn't want a kid. He plans to send her to an orphanage. Giambai overhears everything from the next room. She doesn't know what to do. The next morning, Giambai stands right in front of Nick. She studies the man carefully. He isn't much to look at, but he feels strangely familiar. This is the father she's waited for all these years. But just after finding him, he already wants to send her away after school. Each day, Giambai sits at the bus stop, lost in thought. She waits until late at night before going home. Nick's friends aren't the best people either. They just play cards and drink. Giambai says, "Can I join you, sisters?" Nick's friends ask in surprise, "You want to play too?" After a few rounds, the adults lose all their money. Giambai, happily, says she'll treat them to dinner tomorrow. Nick starts to realize his daughter isn't ordinary. Maybe because she knows her father doesn't want her. Giambai spends most afternoons sitting at the bus stop watching cars pass by into the distance. A car stops in front of her. Inside is the woman whose fortune Giambai told a few days ago. It's only their second meeting, but Giambai can tell she's kind. Giambai asks, "Where are you going?" The woman replies, "Me to the temple." Giambai asks, "Can I come with you?" The woman replies, "Of course, but it will be boring." She wants to honor someone, and she has prayers to say. Giambai sits quietly by the door watching her. Every time the woman looks back, Giambai quickly gives her a sweet smile. On the way back, Giambai asks why she does this. The woman answers, "So the ones who are gone can have a better life in heaven." Her words make Giambai think deeply. At home, Giambai acts differently. She goes to her dad, Nick, and hands him a note. She asks him to buy some things. The next day after school, Giambai rushes home excitedly. But when Nick returns, his hands are empty. He forgot all about his daughter's request. When asked, Nick says he has no time for kids' games. Giambai's eyes fill with tears. She says, "Who said? This is a game. It's Mom's death anniversary." Nick falls silent. Giambai never met her mom, but those who are gone shouldn't be forgotten. Giambai says, "If I don't do this, what will happen to Mom?" Nick says, "Go to bed now." Giambai wipes her tears hard and slams her door shut. She makes a memorial for her mom. Giambai uses her favorite snacks as offerings. She draws missing items with crayons. She hopes her mom in heaven will be happy. Nick quietly opens her door. He watches Giambai praying full of guilt. But how can his broken soul hold this angelic girl? How can he embrace this angelic girl? Today the teacher gives homework record happy family moments. But Nick is a scammer. He doesn't want to be filmed. Unexpectedly, Giambai films Nick drawing a woman on paper. When Giambai watches the video, she sees this drawing. The woman in the drawing is Kanghi, the kind aunt who always helps her. Remembering how her father has been plotting with his partners, Giambai senses trouble. She runs to Kanghi's house. Meanwhile, the three scammers arrive at the rich woman's home. To Nick's surprise, their target is the woman he secretly loves. He panics immediately. Kanghi is actually a rich heiress. After her father's death, she inherits many antiques. Knowing nothing about antiques, Kanghi wants to sell them before moving abroad. Nick's group pretends to be experts and buyers to buy them cheaply for profit. Luckily, Kanghi is naive. Everything goes smoothly. But during the signing, the doorbell rings. To their shock, Giamai walks in, the girl who lives with them. They frantically signal to stop her from talking. Nick tries everything to silence Giamai. Kang-hee looks confused in desperation. Nick admits he's Giamai's father, but his daughter exposes his money scam plan. As their lie crumbles, his partners quickly understand. Through silent eye contact, they quickly agree without speaking. Nick suddenly exposes his partner's scam. Then he tries to distance himself. The woman partner kicks him hard and knocks him out. She threatens Kang-hee not to call the police. While unconscious, Nick has a wild dream. He holds Kang-hee's hand. He feels like he's in heaven. Giamai can't take it anymore. She shouts loudly to wake her dad up. Kang-hee thanks Nick. She thinks he got hurt because of her. Giamai just watches Nick, wondering how long he'll keep acting. Nick feels that every extra minute increases the chance his daughter will expose him. So he quickly grabs Giamai and leaves in a hurry. But Nick can't hide his love-struck expression. It's too obvious. Giamai already notices what Nick is thinking. She says, "Stop dreaming. You like Kang-hee, don't you?" Nick thinks, "Kids, these days are so straightforward." He's speechless. When they return to their rented room, their bags are outside. Their scam failed, so they got evicted. For no rent. With no choice, they stay at a sauna. Nick keeps asking Giamai if she wants to go to a big family. He says there's food and fun there. Giamai knows he means an orphanage. She refuses directly. She says she knows Nick's license plate and ID number. If he abandons her, she threatens to report him to the police. The next day after school, Giamai sees Nick hasn't come to pick her up. She immediately tries to call the police. Nick says, "Go ahead and call them." Giamai says, "Why didn't you come earlier? There are so many bad people out there. A pretty girl like me could get kidnapped." Nick stays calm because he thinks of a way to make Giamai leave. He pretends to be poor. He lies and says he has no money left. From today they'll live in a tent, and for each meal, they'll share one pack of instant noodles. But then they start arguing about how long to cook the noodles. In the chaos, they knock over the pot. As if things couldn't get worse, now they have no food at all. They quickly hide in the tent, but the rain keeps pouring like a flood. In the end, they sleep in the car. They barely make it through the night. The next day at school, Giamai looks messy, even though Rose, who's jealous of her, keeps making fun of her. Giamai doesn't care. Things like pride don't matter to her. They mean nothing. Now she gets to live with her dad. Even if they eat noodles and sleep in a tent, even if it rains every day, it's fine. Of course, Rose keeps teasing her. Even during lunch, Giamai gets treated unfairly. Rose gives Max a huge piece of pork cutlet, but gives Giamai a tiny piece the size of a fingernail. Giamai laughs off most things, but not when it comes to food. But Rose is good at playing the victim and tattling, so Giamai always gets blamed. So in the end, Giamai gets scolded. Luckily, Max steps in to help. He gives her his pork chop. Giamai says, "You don't have to do this. Eat it yourself." Max says, "I don't like pork. You can have it." Rose says, "Are you a beggar?" Jealousy makes people ugly, but Giamai ignores her. She doesn't want to argue. While the other students eat hungrily, Giamai just stares at the pork chop. Even though she's starving, she doesn't take a bite. She wants to save it for her dad. But Giamai doesn't know Nick is eating a big meal right now. That night, Giamai gives Nick the leftover pork chop and milk. She says she doesn't like them. But Nick just ate 3 bowls of rice. He can't say he's not hungry, so he forces himself to eat. Giamai, who hasn't eaten in 2 days, smiles happily. Of course, Nick eats too much and soon starts throwing up. Giamai feels guilty. She thinks her dad is sick from hunger. Then Kang-hee calls Giamai, asks for help right away. Giamai says, "Nick is really sick. He threw up without eating much. Please come quick." Soon Kang-hee takes them to her house. The huge house, bigger than a museum, shocks both of them. But the next morning, Nick sees Giamai drinking milk. Then he realizes she lied about not liking the food, so he would eat. But as someone who feels guilty, he can't stand people being kind to him. He thinks he doesn't deserve it. Just then the rich guy who likes Kang-hee arrives. When he hears about Nick and Giamai, the rich guy starts mocking him. He even says he owns a hospital. "Do you want me to save a bed for you?" Nick's pride is badly hurt. He ignores Kang-hee's advice. He takes Giamai and leaves. So father and daughter go back to eating instant noodles and sleeping in their car. One day, Giamai accidentally sees an orphanage application form. She thinks her dad wants to abandon her. Angry, she runs away. Nick searches everywhere, but he can't find Giamai. Finally, at Kang-hee's doorstep, he sees his sleeping daughter. But when Nick turns to answer his phone, Giamai runs off again. She dashes across the road, ignoring traffic lights. Suddenly a huge truck speeds toward her. At the last second, Nick rushes forward. He shields Giamai with his body. Even as they hit the ground, he stays beneath her to protect her. In the hospital, Giamai looks at her dad, badly hurt by the truck. She cries uncontrollably. Nick says, "Stop crying. I thought you were crying at my funeral." Giamai asks, "Mister, will you die?" Nick says, "Of course I will." His words make her cry harder. But then Nick jokes, "Bad guys live long. I'll last another 50 years, no problem." But while Nick has fractures and a concussion, the doctors worry more about Giamai. Her liver and spleen are swollen. She needs more tests. But Giamai resists. She seems to already know about her health issues. She hides in the bathroom, refusing to come out. She stays there until Kang-hee arrives. She refuses to come out until Kang-hee arrives. Only then does Giamai calm down. Kang-hee finds Nick and suggests that Giamai come live with her. "Forget your worthless pride. We can't let the child sleep on the streets." So Nick decides to send his daughter to Kang-hee's house. He plans to escape from the hospital at night. But just then Giamai suddenly appears and grabs him. Nick says the hospital feels stuffy and he needs some fresh air. Giamai says, "Go now. Don't let anyone see you. I'll keep watch. Go safely, I won't call the police." Giamai opens the stairway door and tells her dad to leave. This way, Nick feels unsure what to do. Giamai says, "I already asked about the orphanage. They have food and warm clothes. I won't have to wander with you anymore. And I have to keep my promise." Nick asks, "What promise?" Giamai says, "When you were unconscious, I prayed to God. If you woke up, I would go to the orphanage without complaining." Looking at his thoughtful daughter, Nick's eyes fill with tears. After drifting through life cheating and doing bad things, Nick realizes no one has ever truly cared about him before. This made him build walls around his heart. But now this 10-year-old daughter appears and changes everything. Nick starts learning to cook and tries to understand his daughter's likes. Thoughtful Giamai saves her school lunches to bring home for her dad, even when she's hungry. She says she doesn't like the food, pork cutlet and milk. How could anyone not love a daughter like this? But the more she does this, the more Nick feels he can't keep her. He doesn't want Giamai to live her life labeled as a scammer's daughter. Nick looks at his daughter, who always thinks of him first. His heart softens. Nick tells Giamai that promises made without faith don't count. He puts on his gear and says they'll move to Kang-hee's place tomorrow. Hearing she can finally stay with her dad, Giamai smiles happily. Father and daughter grow closer. Nick and Giamai move back into Kang-hee's home. The three of them together look like a real family. But these happy days don't last. One day, while Kang-hee walks Giamai to school, a man in black passes by them. When Nick sees him, his eyes fill with fear. Nick grabs the man by the collar, warning him not to hurt the two people he cares about most. Not wanting to trouble Kang-hee and Giamai, Nick leaves at dawn with just his backpack. When Giamai goes to his room, he's already gone. Only a paper frog he folded remains. Giamai knows her dad might really be gone. This time the paper frog becomes her way of remembering him. But when it falls to the floor, Rose steps on it and crushes it hard. Then she acts innocent and says, "Sorry." Giamai says, "You did that on purpose." Rose replies, "Yeah, I did. What can you do?" This makes Giamai snap. But Rose has it worse. Rose's mom asks the teacher to send Giamai to an orphanage. She thinks kids without parents are like time bombs. They might hurt others anytime. The teacher has no choice but to talk with Giamai. When she learns the child is staying with Aunt Kang-hee, the teacher decides to visit. Since the guardian is missing, Giamai must go to the orphanage. Kang-hee looks at poor Giamai with a heavy heart. She previously asked if she could adopt Giamai, but the lawyer said no. After Kang-hee's dad died, he left her billions in debt. This means Kang-hee can't adopt any child. Meanwhile, Nick finds a shady group to help him search for Giamai's aunt. With so many enemies, the aunt's care would be safest. Soon Nick finds the aunt at the airport, but learns Giamai's mom is actually alive. Also, the aunt isn't related to Giamai. She just took money from Giamai's mom to care for her. Now the money's gone, so she won't help anymore. As payment for finding the aunt, Nick must collect debts for the group alone. Facing multiple loan sharks, he risks his life. What keeps Nick going is his daughter, his light. When they're about to kill him, Nick shows his phone recording their violence. The video is already uploaded. If anything happens to him, none of them will escape blame. Meanwhile, Kang-hee can't reach Nick on the phone. She cooks a farewell meal for Giamai. Giamai smiles and says, "It's okay. My dad and I never got along anyway. I would have ended up in an orphanage sooner or later. This just makes it happen. 2 days earlier, Giamai looks at the delicious food. She feels deeply touched. She remembers living with her aunt. Back then she only ate instant rice and canned food. But now life feels more real and much warmer. Kong, he sees Giamai staying silent. They quietly enjoy their last moments together. Soon it's time to say goodbye. Neither of them speaks, but their eyes are full of tears. Nick shouts, "Wait, stop the car." Unexpectedly, Nick comes back. Kong, he slaps him hard. Kong, he says, "Go bring her back." Despite his injuries, Nick chases the car desperately from the street to the alley. He falls, but keeps getting up even as the car gets farther away. Finally, at a red light, he catches up to the orphanage van. When father and daughter meet again, they can't hold back their tears. Sadness and pain rush over them. But suddenly Nick collapses in pain. Giamai is terrified seeing her cry. Nick knows she's his daughter. That day Giamai's right hand starts shaking uncontrollably. Severe spasms make it impossible to stop. Her hand keeps trembling. She quickly grabs it with her other hand. As the kite flies farther away, Giamai knows her condition is getting worse. Giamai has a very rare disease called Niemann-Pick disease. It's similar to Alzheimer's. It causes memory loss and confusion. But as the disease gets worse, muscle spasms and full paralysis will happen. Even all 5 senses may disappear. No one with this disease has ever lived past age 20. So every morning Giamai memorizes all subway routes again to check if her memory is fading. She also practices picking up beanbags to test her finger movements. She thought symptoms would come later, but at just 10 years old signs already appear. Giamai never told Nick about her illness. Her mother left her at birth, then her aunt abandoned her at age 10. Now that she finally found her father, she can't bear feeling helpless again. Today Nick gets a call to bring Giamai for a checkup. Hearing this, Giamai visits the doctor early. She explains she was diagnosed at another hospital years ago. She begs the doctor not to tell Nick about her condition. The doctor asks, "Do you understand this disease?" Giamai says, "Like Alzheimer's, right? Slowly losing memories, then becoming unable to move, usually dying before 20. The doctor never met a child so calm about life and death. He's stunned for a moment. Giamai pleads, "Please keep my secret. If he knows I'm sick, Nick might leave me too." Nick never let Giamai call him dad. They're father and daughter, but not officially. Giamai doesn't want to test human nature again. The doctor takes her to a ward seeing patients being cared for. Giamai understands her future. The doctor mentions a children's medical charity that treats orphans for free. If you don't want to burden your family, she should go there. Giamai walks alone on the street. People hurry past her. The road ahead seems long and hard. She walks from day to night. She doesn't know where to go. When she finally reaches home, she sees Nick and Kong getting closer. Giamai thinks that without her they might be happy together. Back home, Giamai notices Nick searching something online. When he sees her, he quickly closes his laptop. He tells her to go to sleep late at night. Giamai opens the laptop. She finds a paternity test website. This hurts her deeply. Maybe she should really leave. The next day, Giamai sees the doctor. She agrees to accept medical help for orphans. The doctor thinks this might be the right choice. On her way home, Giamai writes down things she wants to do before leaving. Give Kong-hee a gift, take a family photo, go on a trip together. The last thing is about Nick, but she keeps changing it. She can't decide. Finally, she writes 3 question marks. She wonders if her feelings for Nick are just one-sided. She doesn't know how long she'll live. She doesn't know what the future holds. She just hopes her family can create happy memories to give her strength to fight her illness. Then Giamai finds Nick's friend. She asks if Nick has any unfulfilled wishes. She learns Nick's mother died when he was young. His father was a busy policeman. Nick's biggest dream was to watch a meteor shower with his dad. They plan to go one weekend. So the father and son decide to watch the meteor shower together that weekend. But life is unpredictable. On that very weekend, Nick's father dies while on duty. Even though the sky is full of stars that night, they cannot light up the boy's way home. Maybe this is Nick's lifelong regret. A few days later, there will be a Leonid meteor shower. So Giamai invites her dad to watch it together in the suburbs, but Nick refuses. Nick is no longer that young boy. He doesn't want to waste money and time. In the end, they have a big fight and part angrily. The next day, Nick gets a call from the teacher. It turns out that a few days ago, the conflict between the 2 kids is still being held against them by Rose's mom. She starts yelling at Giamai right in front of Nick. The child is just as low as the adult. Nick gets angry and wants to argue back. But the woman openly mentions Nick's past as a fraudster. Giamai stands up for her dad. She starts arguing with the woman, but Nick just looks sad and says nothing. He stays silent. But sometimes the more you stay quiet, the more the other person bullies you. They say all kinds of hurtful things. Nick knows how much his past as a fraudster has hurt his daughter. On their way home, Giamai keeps wiping her tears, not for herself, but for Nick. She doesn't understand why it's so hard for a bad person to change. Nick quietly holds Giamai's hand, and the daughter notices her father's rough hands. She knows Nick works at a construction site by day and drives for others at night, from a fraudster to a part-time worker. He does it all for her. Giamai says, "If you're busy, we don't have to watch the meteor shower." Nick replies, "But you want to go, right? If you want to go, let's go together." Finally, the father and daughter drive off. They go to watch the meteor shower. They stay at the observation deck. They wait until 2 a.m. when it finally appears. When the sky fills with stars, Nick is stunned. He remembers his past with his own father. Young Nick always dreamed of watching a meteor shower with his dad. Now, as a father himself, Nick finally sees the meteors with Giamai. But when he turns, Giamai has fallen asleep. Nick gently holds his daughter. Tears fill his eyes. He tells himself, no matter how hard life gets, he'll always stay with his daughter one day. Giamai watches some happy college girls with envy. Like any child, she wants to grow up fast. She dreams of wearing pretty dresses and putting on makeup. But for Giamai, who won't live past 20, this is just a dream. Each passing day brings her closer to death. The special medicine costs $1 million per bottle monthly. Giamai knows her family can't afford it. The doctor asks, "How's your dad? Is he good to you?" Seeing Giamai's sweet smile, the doctor realizes how hard her orphanage decision was. It means free treatment, but also that father and daughter will never meet again. The doctor can't bear Giamai suffering alone. He tells Nick the truth. This sudden news leaves Nick shocked. "Nick, can you handle this? Can you really take full responsibility for Giamai?" Nick can't find any words to say. After leaving the hospital, Nick walks around like a zombie. He wanders on the street. Nick sees Giamai's back, but he doesn't even have the courage to go say hello. When Giamai looks at other people with envy in her eyes, it hurts Nick like needles in his heart. At night, Nick goes to work as usual, but Kang-hee comes to Nick's room. Nick takes out all the money he earned and gives it to Kang-hee. He says it's for their living expenses. When he earns more money, they will move out. But Kang-hee says they can stay. She's going abroad for work and will leave the house to them. She trusts them to take care of it. It's better than giving it to strangers. Nick knows Kang-hee pities him, but in his current situation, he can't afford to be proud. Actually, Kang-hee recently learned about Giamai's illness. This might be the only thing she can do. Nick takes the most dangerous jobs to pay for his daughter's treatment. He earns money the hard way. Nick used to spend money carelessly. Now he argues over small amounts with customers. Even if he gets beaten up, he still fights for the money. After Giamai's classmates learn her father works at a construction site, they start ignoring her. But Giamai doesn't care. She even tells them to take care. Only Max notices the sadness in her eyes. After school, when Max learns Giamai will go to an orphanage, he takes her to see the ocean. Max asks, "When are you transferring schools?" Giamai says very soon. Max says, "Can you stay for me?" Giamai says, "You're a good person." The children's playful moment ends with a sweet kiss, and the scene fades. When Giamai returns, it's already dark. Nick, who searched for her for hours, is furious. He worries she might have gotten sick outside or had an accident. Giamai says, "What's wrong, mister?" Nick says, "Don't call me mister, call me dad." Giamai says, "Can I really call you that?" Nick says, "Of course you should." This is the first time since their reunion that Nick asks to be called dad. He also decides to face her illness together. Late at night, Nick takes out the DNA test he did earlier. He never had the courage to check the results. But now he's made his own choice. Whether Giamai is his real daughter doesn't matter anymore. Interestingly, neither tells the other that they know about the illness. Instead, they show love in their own ways. Nick gives his daughter nutrition pills and tells her to take them daily to stay healthy. Giamai becomes more mature and stops worrying her family. But this happy time doesn't last. While working at heights, Nick falls and hurts his leg at home. He claims he twisted it while playing. Giamai knows the truth, but doesn't say anything to help her dad. Giamai starts working at a fortune-telling shop. With her cute looks and great tarot skills, she attracts many customers. Soon people line up all day to see her. She attracts many customers. They line up from morning till night. One day a strange man comes to the classroom. He sees Giamai, but quickly leaves. When Giambai gets home, a mysterious man tells her her mother, Giam, is not dead. Following the address he gave, Giambai finds where Giam works. When she sees the woman again, Giambai knows this must be her mother, but the mother who abandoned her at birth. Giambai refuses to accept her. In truth, Giam forgot she even had a daughter. To get rid of the baby, she faked her death and fled abroad. Now Giam accidentally learns her mother left 1.5 billion in inheritance to her granddaughter Giambai. So Giam returns to claim the money. The lawyer says, until Giambai turns 18, the money can't be given to anyone else. This means custody is crucial to get the inheritance. Giam goes straight to Nick. She demands her child back. She says Nick is too poor to give Giambai a good life. She even tells him Giambai skips school to work as a fortune teller. Nick confronts Giambai and they have a big fight. Though they blame each other, their eyes show they still care. That's how fathers and daughters are. They fight, but it doesn't change their love. Even with a bad leg, Nick carries his daughter home. Soon the lawyer contacts Nick and explains the inheritance. Nick knows why Giam returned. She abandoned Giambai at birth and ignored her for 10 years. If Giam gets the money, Giambai will surely be. She will be abandoned again. Nick immediately goes to find Giam. Nick says, take it all. Take all the inheritance. Take everything but Giambai. Just don't hurt Giambai. But this money-obsessed woman doesn't want any surprises. Only by firmly holding her daughter's custody can she safely secure the inheritance. Just as Nick is about to mention Giambai's illness, Giambai suddenly appears and interrupts him. She then turns and runs away. Nick limps after her. Nick says, listen to me, live with me, whether in life or death, always live with me. Nick uses the harshest tone, but says the warmest words. With or without the inheritance, Giambai is Nick's daughter. Death and pain cannot separate them. So, hand in hand, they limp toward home. Max asks Giambai if she would regret leaving this world. Giambai thinks for a while and realizes there's much she'd miss. The lively streets, the bustling crowds, the energetic school, and this dusty world. Max waits, but hears no mention of himself. He grows impatient. He quickly takes out his violin and plays a song for Giambai. Of course Giambai would miss this charming boy. She just teases him by not saying it. But some people always ruin the most romantic moments. In reality, Giambai's illness acts up more often. Her condition worsens. Giambai's illness happens more often now. She often forgets what she was doing. She can't remember what she just wanted to do. When answering questions, she's always a little slow. Sometimes she can't even solve simple math problems. Giambai knows her condition is getting worse. One day her birth mother, Giam, comes to pick her up after school. She takes Giambai for nice meals and buys her clothes. She just wants to improve her image in her daughter's eyes. Every girl loves beautiful things. Giam uses this to her advantage. She tries very hard to impress Giambai. She takes Giambai to get her nails done and gives her a makeover, though Giambai says she doesn't like it. Shopping with her mother is something she always dreamed of. But near their home, she takes off the new clothes and wipes off her lipstick, though everything was nice. Giambai never forgets the truth. She only wants to live with her dad. Just then Kang Hee comes home. Kang Hee knows Giam only, approaches Giambai for the inheritance. The two women start arguing, but Giambai won't allow Giam to say bad things about Kang Hee. She pushes Giam away. Giam never expected her daughter would choose a stranger over her own mother. Giambai throws away everything Giam bought for her. She takes Kang Hee's hand and leaves. Giam feels very upset. She starts drinking alone. Then she remembers something important. When she was young, she dated many boyfriends at the same time. Nick was just one of them. Maybe Giambai isn't Nick's daughter. Giam rushes home. From the clothes Giambai tried on, she finds her daughter's hair. Then she pretends to fight with Nick. She pulls a hair from his head. Soon Giam angrily confronts Nick. She says, "We're over. Giambai isn't your real daughter." Nick sees the paternity test. He knows the result without opening it. He had his doubts before, but whether Giambai is his or not doesn't matter anymore. Nick says, "I don't need the inheritance. You can have all of it. Just leave Giambai. Please don't take her away." Giam. But no matter how Nick begs, Giam won't change her mind. She only cares about one thing. Without custody, she gets no inheritance. Finally, Giam decides to take the child this weekend. Meanwhile, Giambai reaches home and meets the mysterious man again. He says, "Nick isn't your real father." Giambai refuses to believe it. She turns to leave, but suddenly Giambai has a health episode. Her mind goes blank. Her legs won't move. At the last moment the man catches her. After a closer look he freezes in shock. Why does Giamai look so much like him? After learning the truth, Giamai feels even worse for Nick, but she can't find the words to say anything. That night Nick leaves for work as usual, but Giamai stops him. She says, "Don't go. It's too cold tonight. I don't want to take medicine anymore. So please don't go to work tonight." Giamai tells Nick the truth. They are not related by blood. She doesn't understand why Nick has to work so hard. He could start a new life. Why does he keep wasting time and money on her? Nick never thinks about himself. He just wants his daughter to be healthy, because she's the family he chose for himself. Nick cleans basements every night until 4 a.m., then works at a construction site at 8 a.m. He can't bear seeing Nick suffer. She doesn't want them to be separated. So she goes to see Ju-young. She tells her about Giambai's illness. But even then Ju-young thinks he wants the inheritance and is exaggerating. She thinks it's just a minor illness. But Giambai's condition is actually getting worse. She's losing many of her memories. She can't even remember the way to school. Now she uses GPS to go to school. Maybe she's afraid she'll forget her father too. So every day after school father and daughter patiently introduce themselves to each other. As they talk, tears fill their eyes. They both try hard to remember each other in their hearts. To get custody of his daughter, Nick goes to see a prosecutor. He wants to file an application, but the prosecutor refuses because Nick has a fraud record. Everyone thinks Nick just wants Giambai's grandmother's money. Nick knows he has no chance. He buys Giamai a pair of pretty princess shoes as a farewell gift. Nick asks, "Do you like them?" Giamai answers yes. Nick says, "My dad is poor. Do you still want to live with me? If you want to live with me, Ju-young must give up her custody rights to be able to live with Nick." Giamai finds her classmate's father. He is a prosecutor's director. Giamai tells him her story. The director is moved by this young girl. He agrees to let Nick apply, but the judge will make the final decision. Giamai accidentally hears Nick talking with Kang-yi. She learns that if Ju-young makes a big mistake her custody rights can be taken away. Then a plan forms in Giambai's mind. If there's no mistake, she can make one happen. So Giamai asks Ju-young to have dinner together. Ju-young, who is addicted to alcohol, easily agrees. After just a few words she starts drinking, bottle after bottle, drunk. Ju-young then tries to take Giamai clubbing. But minors under 18 aren't allowed drunk. Ju-young doesn't care at all. She fights with the security guards. This leads to Ju-young being arrested. Seeing her mother completely drunk, Giamai starts feeling bad. She wonders if she went too far this time. But even so, Giamai chooses Ju-young over her beloved Nick. Nick doesn't understand why Giamai makes this choice. Ju-young only wants the inheritance. She doesn't truly care about raising her daughter. Nick says, "Don't you want to live with me?" Giamai says, "I want to live with you until I die, but if I don't take care of mom, she might die before me." After spending time together, Giamai learns her birth mother Ju-young has a serious drinking problem. When drunk she often starts fights. If Giamai doesn't stay with her, she might die anytime. This must be what family love means. No matter how bad her mother is, she's still her mom. Giamai tells Nick, when her mother gets better she'll come back immediately. He is already crying. Giamai doesn't have much time left, yet she's wasting it on the mother who abandoned her. Even as an outsider, he thinks it's unfair. Before leaving, Giamai gives her dad a pair of colorful boots. Nick acts like he doesn't like them, but secretly he's very happy. Even at the construction site, he wears them while working. He tells everyone his daughter bought them. Soon Ju-young takes Giamai home. The house is a complete mess. Though she expected it, the sight still shocks. Her clothes are never washed. Ju-young just sprays them with air freshener and wears them again. The fridge only has beer and liquor, no food at all. When Ju-young tries to cook, she accidentally sets the house on fire. If not for a mysterious man saving them, they might have died that day. On just her second day living with mom, Giamai has to move into a sauna room. Ju-young pressures the lawyer to hurry with the inheritance papers. Without money soon, they can't even afford the sauna room. After Giamai leaves, Nick becomes depressed. He returns to the tent where he once lived with Giamai. He goes back to the tent where he once lived with Giamai. He quietly misses his daughter. Giamai also feels the same longing. She has passed by her home many times. She wants to ring the doorbell, but her hand stops halfway and drops. Giamai is afraid that if she sees her father, she won't want to leave. Without realizing it, Giamai walks to the place where she and Nick once slept on the streets. She didn't expect the tent to still be there. When she opens it, she finds it filled with Nick's drawings of her. Giamai looks at each one. Every picture tells a story. Suddenly, memories of her time with Nick flash through her mind. Today the school holds a parents' meeting, but Giambai's mother never shows up. Giambai feels very disappointed. Meanwhile, Nick, who is working at a construction site, gets a message. Giam is missing. Nick immediately has a bad feeling. He wonders if Giambai's mother ran away with the inheritance. Nick remembers that when Giam was young, she liked to pray when in trouble. So he rushes to the church. Sure enough, he finds Giam there looking hopeless. It turns out Giam had many boyfriends when she was young. After giving birth to Giambai, she didn't know who the father was. This led to her postpartum depression. Under all the pressure, Giam even thought about throwing Giambai off a building. But seeing her baby smile, she changed her mind. Later Giam left Giambai with her aunt. Giam went abroad alone. She made a living by smuggling drugs. Later she heard Giambai inherited money, so she came back to take it from her daughter. But now Giam's friend, who knows the truth, is blackmailing her for the money. Giam is afraid that if Giambai finds out she won't be able to face her, so she chooses to run away. But Giambai already knows her mother has a messed up life. If even her own daughter doesn't accept her, Giam might die before Giambai does from her illness. So Giambai decides to use her remaining time to save Giam. Nick says, "You did nothing wrong. Please go back to Giambai. If you disappear again, Giambai will be heartbroken." After Nick's persuasion, Giam finally understands. She decides to live properly with Giambai. She pours out all her alcohol and plans to change her bad habits. She wants to be a good mother. But Giambai's condition is getting worse. Her memory is failing badly, and she often has muscle spasms and shakes. Giambai realizes how serious her illness is, but there's no cure for her disease. Medicine can only slow it down and ease the pain. Rose accidentally finds Giambai's special medicine. The next day, all the parents come to school to protest. They want Giambai expelled. The parents heard that in late-stage Niemann-Pick disease patients lose all memories and become aggressive. They think this dangerous factor should be removed immediately. Giambai hears everything the adults say. She promises to leave soon. The parents can't argue with this. The children who witness this start acting differently. When the teacher asks questions, they all wait without answering. They want slow-reacting Giambai to answer with them. Giambai deeply feels her classmates' kindness. Today Nick arrives at the tent he built with his daughter, but he sees city workers taking it down. Nick quickly steps in to stop them. Then he spots Giambai sitting alone on the steps. It's been over 2 weeks since he last saw her, after the judge gave custody to her mom. Nick can't hold back his emotions. He walks up to greet her. Nick says, "Giambai, my beautiful girl." Nick says, "It's me, your dad." Giambai's cold stare makes Nick uneasy. Giambai says, "Who are you, mister?" Nick realizes her Niemann-Pick disease is getting worse. She doesn't remember him anymore. Nick doesn't know what to do as he follows behind her. He planned how to introduce himself, but now he can't find the words. Just then Giambai suddenly turns around. Giambai says, "Dad." Nick says, "Oh, Giambai." Nick hugs his daughter tightly. Luckily her memory lapses don't last long now, but that moment of not knowing him scared him deeply. Giambai notices the sadness on Nick's face. She realizes she might have hurt her dad's feelings. I'm sorry, Dad. It's okay if you don't recognize me. No matter what happens, even if the world ends, I'll always be your dad. I'll stay with you till the end." Nick knows the road ahead won't be easy, but he's determined to keep going. Later Giam packs Giambai's things and finds her special medicine. Giam never took Giambai's illness seriously. She thought it was just a minor issue. With Kong he's helped they find Giambai's doctor. Giam thinks the 1.5 billion inheritance can cure any illness, big or small. She demands, "Use your best medicine." The doctor says, "There isn't any." Giam snaps. Is that what a doctor should say? Isn't Giambai already taking medicine? The doctor explains, "It only slows the disease. It can't cure her." Giam refuses to accept this. She can't believe money can't fix everything. She decides to withdraw the full inheritance from the lawyer to treat Giambai. But when she arrives the office is empty. She realizes something is very wrong. She calls the mysterious man to track down the lawyer. The truth comes out. The lawyer gambled away all the money. Even catching him won't help. Giam breaks down completely. Her last hope to save Giambai is gone. Nearby Giambai sees everything back home. Giam doesn't know how to face her. She keeps apologizing. Giambai knows the money could have bought years of medicine for her. But like an adult, she comforts her mom. Because of Giambai, Giam who always ran from problems, learns to take responsibility. She starts working hard for Giamai and herself. When Ju-young buys medicine, she's shocked. 1.1 million per bottle, way beyond her budget. Now she understands how much pressure Nick faced. At night, Giamai suddenly wakes up. She sits up groggily like a sleepwalker. She wanders into the street in the middle of the night. Ju-young turns over. She finds her child missing. Ju-young rushes outside. She searches anxiously. To her surprise, Giamai is sitting alone at the bus stop. No matter how Ju-young calls her, Giamai seems spellbound. She doesn't respond at all. A bus passes by. Giamai shakily tries to board it. Luckily, Ju-young arrives in time. She stops the unconscious Giamai. But no matter how her mother calls, the girl doesn't react. Ju-young looks at the dazed Giamai. Her heart breaks. This is her first time seeing her daughter like this. But once is enough to break her emotional defenses. The next day, Ju-young finds Giamai's doctor. She learns sleepwalking is the most common symptom of Niemann-Pick disease. Giamai trying to board the bus shows her strong desire to go home. Ju-young realizes Giamai must miss her father. Last night's bus was heading home. After losing the 1.5 billion inheritance, Ju-young works day and night. She needs money for medicine but ignores her daughter's feelings. Giamai stays home alone daily. She plays games by herself, trying to fight loneliness. But when she lies down, she remembers happy times with her father and Kongi. In the evening, Ju-young watches. Ju-young looks at Giamai, who is already fast asleep. She finally makes up her mind. She knows she can't stay with her daughter. If she keeps delaying, Giamai's illness will only get worse. So she decides to give her daughter back to Nick. This way she can focus on earning money for her child's treatment. The next morning, Ju-young prepares a big breakfast compared to her first attempt at cooking, when she almost set the house on fire. She's improved a lot. In this world, there's no such thing as I can't. When you become a parent, you naturally learn everything. The bond between mother and daughter grows stronger. After breakfast, Ju-young asks Giamai to take a walk with her, but the direction they're heading makes Giamai realize her mother's plan. Ju-young doesn't want her daughter to waste time on her. Now she has a reason to live for herself and for her daughter. Ju-young pulls Giamai to Kongi's doorstep. After ringing the doorbell, Ju-young says her final words. Ju-young says, "Don't follow me anymore." Giamai cries, "Mom." This is the first time Giamai calls Ju-young mom, but it happens just as they're about to part. After a brief pause, Ju-young walks away without looking back. Only after Kongi takes Giamai inside does Ju-young let herself cry loudly. She hopes Giamai can live her final days not for anyone else, but happily with the father she loves most. Ju-young is grateful that after 10 years, she got to meet the child she once abandoned. Giamai's persistence, courage, and endless kindness will stay in her heart forever, even after many years. She will never forget them. That angel named Giamai heals her broken soul that was full of wounds. The mysterious man is Chi-soo. He often takes newborn babies from a special mailbox, but he's not their father. This mailbox is for orphans at the orphanage. Parents leave unwanted babies here. They come to this place. Some babies are born disabled. Others are left by single mothers in the cold winter. This might be their only chance to stay alive. The man is Chi-soo. He works at the orphanage. He spent 15 years in prison for accidental killing. After his release, he can't find good jobs because of his record. Now he collects debts for gangsters, but he's bad at this job. Chi-soo often feels sorry. He only asks for the main debt. His boss beats him for this. He has to pay the interest himself. Only at the orphanage, with the children, Chi-soo finds peace in his heart. There's another worker named Emma. Chi-soo always looks away when he sees her. He feels too guilty to be near her. But Emma already likes Chi-soo. She sees his kindness. While collecting debts, Chi-soo meets a sick girl. Giamai's mom owes money to stop her from running. Chi-soo follows Giamai. When he learns she's dying kind, Chi-soo starts spending his own money. He buys her meals. He also buys her gifts. Sometimes he picks her up after school. When he sees other debt collectors coming, Chi-soo doesn't hesitate to chase them away. He takes on the debt himself. After a while, Giamai even starts to wonder if Chi-soo is her long-lost father. Giamai says, "Mister, you've suffered a lot, haven't you? You're all alone. You don't have any friends, and no one to talk to. I felt the same way when I found out I was sick. Why don't you become my dad?" Chi-soo never expected these words to come from a 10-year-old child's mouth. Giamai quietly wipes away his tears, but their happiness doesn't last. Chi-soo gets the worst debt collection record, so the gang boss has him arrested. Giambai gets caught too. When the gang boss sees Giambai, he's shocked. He yells at his men for grabbing the wrong person. Suddenly, Giambai collapses on the couch. Her limbs start shaking. Her eyes look blank. This scares everyone in the room. Chisu quickly picks her up and runs out, but the gang members stop him. Chisu shouts, "Are you trying to kill this child?" But as soon as they're outside, Giambai is fine. She was faking it the whole time. Giambai knows Chisu is a good person. She wants him to find a better job and live a good life. Many people have told Chisu this before, but he only listens when Giambai says it. Not wanting to disappoint her and wanting to change his life, Chisu becomes a stunt actor. The job is dangerous and hard, but he feels at peace for the first time. He still checks the orphanage mailbox every day. When he sees it's empty, he feels happy. It means no child has been abandoned. He still puts most of his salary into the mailbox secretly. The money helps support the orphanage. When Emma isn't looking, he still watches her secretly until Emma notices him. Giambai quickly looks away. No one knew Giambai wanted to set up Chisu with Emma all along. This kind of fate is truly wonderful in its own way. Giambai leaves early for school, but arrives last in class. The teacher waits for her before starting the lesson. Under her classmates' kind gazes, Giambai slowly walks to her seat. This is Giambai's last class with her serious illness. She will enter the hospital soon. Today feels like her farewell party. As the camera records, everyone gives their blessings. Giambai tries hard to remember each smiling face. Before school ends, the teacher invites Giambai on stage to perform. Amid cheers, Giambai sings one last folk song, Autumn Night. But as she sings, everything becomes blurry. Then she collapses straight down. Giambai can't finish her performance before leaving school forever. The doctor's exam shows Giambai has 2 Niemann-Pick disease complications, abnormal hippocampus and severe brain weakness. They thought she'd live until 20, but that seems too optimistic. Now Nick stands helpless outside the room. He can't accept. Giambai will die soon. Even though Nick was mentally prepared, when that moment finally comes, he still breaks down. Luckily Kong, he stops him in time from thinking too much. Kong, he says, "I'm just as scared as you are, but who are you?" "You're Giambai's dad. If her dad loses hope, Giambai won't be able to keep going. Do you understand?" Meanwhile, Giambai quietly leaves her room. The hallway feels lifeless. Everywhere she looks are seriously ill children. Sometimes there are heartbreaking cries, parents saying goodbye to their children. Giambai knows she might soon be like them too. Nick follows behind her, his face covered in tears. No matter how many times he tells himself to stay strong, it doesn't help. Surprisingly, it's wise Giambai who comes to comfort Nick first. When they return to their room, they see another girl yelling at her mother. Her name is Mary. Since being hospitalized for heart disease, her father disappeared completely. If they can't find a transplant heart in 1 month, she'll die from heart failure. Maybe because they both face death soon. Giambai and Mary quickly become friends. Late at night, Mary takes Giambai to witness death. They go to the funeral hall full of sad goodbyes, family members crying, visitors at a loss for words. Nothing can bring back that bright smile. They even go to the coffin room to experience dying slowly. Giambai lies down in a coffin. Everything turns dark when you say goodbye. When you say goodbye to the world, all happy memories flash by like scenes from a movie. Since meeting Nick, who isn't her real father but would do anything for her, Giambai's life becomes colorful. Their first time skipping a bill, first time sleeping in a tent, first tearful goodbye, and their reunion after separation. All these moments give her strength to face the world. Giambai knows she needs Nick and Nick needs her too. For her beloved father, she must keep fighting to live. 3 unrelated people form a happy family with friends as witnesses. They make a promise together to fight the illness. This might just be a small moment in her battle, but it still makes her happy every time she remembers. But soon they face new problems. Giambai has trouble swallowing and keeps losing her memory more often. The doctors give 2 options to the parents. Let her live 1 last year with dignity, without treatment, or continue treatment, but live like a vegetable. Nick and Kong Hee disagree. Nick can't bear seeing his daughter lose all her senses, but Kong Hee thinks staying alive is most important. They decide to let Giambai choose. Giambai goes to the hospital lobby. She covers her ears and closes her eyes to feel what losing senses is like after silence and darkness. Giambai slowly opens her eyes. Giambai says, "I'll take the treatment." Nick says, "You might go blind." Giambai says, "I know." Giambai slowly reaches out her right hand. Nick firmly holds her hand. Nick says, "If you lose your sight, I'll be your eyes." Soon Giambai starts receiving spinal injections. Her condition improves a little, but the side effects also appear. As expected, Giambai loses her hearing. Even with hearing aids, daily conversations require loud voices. The doctor says, if we continue the injections, the side effects will get worse. But Giambai doesn't hesitate at all. Giambai says, I want to keep getting the shots. She wants to live, to stay with Nick and Kongi. Even if she becomes a vegetable, she's willing to try. Winter turns to spring, and 2 years pass now. Giambai can no longer walk. Her hands don't work either. Meanwhile, Nick and Kongi strongly disagree on what to do next. Nick thinks, since she can't move, well, he should do everything for her. But Kongi believes she should keep trying rehabilitation exercises. If once isn't enough, try 100 times, no matter how many times it takes. Kongi will stay by her daughter's side. Giambai knows they both care for her, just in different ways. Still, Giambai chooses to keep doing rehab exercises, trying to maintain her body's strength, but even so her condition keeps getting worse. Giambai stays awake less and less. She often forgets Nick and Kongi, and even her own reflection starts to feel unfamiliar, like a body without a soul. Is this still Giambai? To help her remember, Nick takes Giambai to the beach to see the endless ocean. They camp on a mountain and cook instant noodles together, even when they spill the food pot. Giambai still can't remember the past. Maybe this is how it has to be. Time passes quickly, and 5 years go by. On Giambai's 17th birthday, all the people who love Giambai come together. They were all helped by Giambai before. She helped them through hard times. It seems everyone around her found happiness. Only Giambai stays stuck in place. Maybe she still can't live like a normal person, but she tried her best. When they take a group photo, Nick thinks he sees the old Giambai again, that angel-like girl still smiling at life.